Resistência Urbana. Welcome everybody. Not every day we should talk about politics, but also about life and what's happening around you, and what people always curious. Sometimes some different kind of topics may help to understand few issues. Anyway, welcome to Resistência Urbana. Today I am in this beautiful setting place in the southwest of England. What is the topic today? Well, to all of you, first of all, thank you for being part of this journey and also part of the channel. Today I want to talk a little bit about immigrants. Well, I know it's a very hot topic. We know about many things going on, especially in Southern African region, in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, Namibia, and so forth, other countries also. But let's talk about next. Yes, once again, Resistência Urbana welcomes you. Well, I've been follow politics in South Africa. I become a mess every day. Why I have chosen South Africa? Well, it's part of my life, is part of being me as a human being and family. But is this Operation Dudula and the contradictions of the politicians in South Africa? It takes me to reflect on in South Africa politics. Sometimes many people ask, what is rotten in South Africa? What is the major issue that makes South Africans unhappy? That is the most important issue here. It's not about the foreigners. It's not about that car. An example. Well, it's the quality life they had expectations after the Apartheid, and what the politicians promised them and did not deliver. Yes, that is one of the main issues. What's happening is not be able to understand or digest reality themselves. And I think sometimes be an eye that watches, an eye looks from outside of the port, so you can explain people your experiences, and also you understand what's going on really in South African politics. So let's dive a little bit in this subject, but before we start, I just want to take through to this clip for you to hear something, and then we take from there.
Now we're gonna do what the ANC had did to the Apartheid government. Now we're going to do it to the ANC government, together with the JNU, whatever they call themselves. We're not gonna stop. I'm not inciting violence, but if we have to fight, if this country has to be ungovernable, then let it be. Today.
Well, I hope you have seen and hear the clip, but the question is, do you know before Operation Dudula there's been others things look like? Well, the FF is an example. But what is the FF? Many people, they don't question those things about EFF, the rise of EFF. Julius Malema. Well, this is something I've said earlier about South African politics. You have to travel on time and look at certain things that you never see or you never heard or understand. Yes, those things. And those are the things that you need to learn first. And here is what you need to understand and learn. Well, when the British colonized South Africa, and South Africa also went through a hell of changes that sometimes to talk about is like this road. You see, this is a railway. This is an example of railway before it was exported to Africa. Here in this place where I am standing right now was where they used to train themselves and prepare the British how to work with railways, how to build railways. Yeah, today I'm in this location where the first railway lines have been put, how to create road left to right, and so the gears to change, and there is what's left over at those days of experiment. But when the British colonized South Africa, not only British, was what they call the Dutchies and so forth. Other people know better the story. But it's something very interesting when South Africa became independent country. Yes, that is, many people sometimes ask me, why you say South Africa is an independent country? Yes, South Africa is independent before even this finish of apartheid, the end of apartheid. South Africa gained the independence from the British back. I don't know when, I never had time to read. I heard about those dates. But it's when at that time the masters, the colonizers, they find something interesting, how to make money. That was this British islands with Portugal that has created this resentment that we saw, you see these days in South Africa. And many people, they don't know what I'm talking about because you don't know the history, or you don't want to know. Many people just in this Operation Dudula, only they say, oh, these Mozambican people, these Machangans, whatever and ever, just they come to our country to take our jobs and abuse the system. So nothing to do with that. There is something else behind. It's something even the people of Operation Dudula, they do unconscious, and then they don't realize what they're doing is the reason why these people are coming to South Africa. It's tough to talk like that, but it's the truth. So let's unravel. Cheaper labor is the key word. And many times, cheaper labor, or most of the times, is the driven of economies around wealth. And cheaper labor is one the things drives development, the contradictions of the factors when you want to produce butter, shoes, whatever, you need to produce to a level that you can make profits. And one of the rules of capitalism is how to make profits. And most of the times is tries to sell less and make lot of money. This is what they do, the biggest brands like Gucci and so forth. And then we can talk about cars, we can talk about other things. But in South Africa, cheaper labor is one of the drivens, is one of the factors, is one of the ingredients of South Africa economy. People are involved in this Operation Dudula, DFF, the ANC, plus whatever, DA, all these things. I'm talking because I've been there. I've been there, and then I've been part of that society. I worked for ESCOM. I had my own business. I was one of the ends in the minds of many projects in South Africa, from substations, power lines, buildings like Waterfall State, and other places around Johannesburg, Rosebank, Sandton, and name it. And if you are watching, some of you know me. So, these people of Operation Dudula, EFF, ANC, I'll say, they employ the same people they say they come to South Africa, take South African jobs and resources. So the question is, we should ask them, why do you use them in your own house as your maid, as your garden, as your driver, or your builder? Why you don't hire Mr. Tulani? Why you don't hire Mr. Kosi? Why you don't hire Tabsile? Why you don't hire Kumalo or all the others? That is the question. Very important question. Why those people are not hired? So, those people are not hired because it's been created culture and mentality of cost. How cost effective your little salary can give you these small luxuries, to have a maid, to have a gardener, to have a driver. So the apartheid was the master people. When they realized that the communities in South Africa, the black population, they are not willing to work under them, they find another way. Because when they start doing the agriculture, mines, and they had a lot of problem with the locals, employing local South Africa, a lot of issues, conflicts, and so forth. And those conflicts became when the mines started to develop, the rush for the gold, and so forth. And one that most South Africans, they didn't want to work harder as they requires. And most of the time became a conflict and a really dangerous situation. And so, at the time, Boers and so forth, they decide contact the Portuguese colonies, in particular Mozambique was the nearest one. Mozambique at the time was underdeveloped as today. So one of the tricks was to keep the old policy of the Portuguese trade, labor trade. The Portuguese are the masters of slavery. They sold most of the slaves went around the world. The Portuguese was one, the driven force. So instead, bring people from Mozambique as slaves. They went and they make this deal with the Portuguese. We're gonna hire your people, and the benefits of these people, they will be so tiny, so small, but the government will have the biggest slide of the cake. So those people are poor. They didn't have means of surviving. They're living there in the farms. So go to South Africa, work in the mine, and come back home with a little man, just some sheets of roofing and so forth, a motorbike or a bicycle at the time was quite a lot. So from that policy, South Africa mines recruit so much they could from Mozambique, some very little numbers from the Commonwealth countries like Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Botswana, Namibia, so forth. But Mozambique was the best offer. The people who come from Mozambique are the really tool warriors. So they brought them to South Africa. They put them in many hostels around many areas, Rustenburg, Soweto area, Randfontein. Those hostels exist. These people, they used to live in communal areas with a very restriction access to the cities and other kind. But some of them, fortunately, because of their good manners, behaviors, and all that, and the difference of language. Most of these white people took them and work in their houses, exposed them to, as a gardeners, drivers, mechanics, and so forth. There is the culture of how the people that South Africans hate and call them, oh, doesn't matter if you come from the north, south, center of Mozambique, they call them Changans, but they're not all Changans. Changans is, even the South Africans are Changan. If you're from Limpopo, Mpumalanga, the entity of these people, they call themselves, no, I'm from Northwest, whatever, the origins are Shangan. So, because of similarities of language, this is one of the secrets, basically, why this problem comes because the Changans or Zimbabweans today, because Zimbabwe is a political matter, and others, because the transformation in their countries, they come to South Africa and they're willing to work for less compared to South Africans. There is where the story starts. And these people, they don't understand. Are the people of South Africa, once the guy done a video why people are coming to work in South Africa, because they can do some work that the South Africans, they can't, they refuse to do. And this is where the politics in South Africa, the politicians fail to understand the conflict, why their economy is being taken by this cheaper labor comes from these countries. It's a very controversial conversation, but this is historical. There is a video done by a guy also from Mozambique, Beleze Msoa, where he went more deep in history and look into why the conflicts. And this new generation, when the ANC comes, the democracy comes, because these things are not being proper written in history books. Even those words of Libatambo, I still remember. One day, Mozambique shall be remembered. The history books of South Africa never been accomplished. I was there when he said that. I do remember when in Maputo, that time he was with Ruth First, John Slovo, and that guy, what's called it? Oh, I forget. He's one day, today, very important figure in the ANC. Yeah, I still remember. I was very young, but I still remember those words of Oliver Tambo. So, these are the things. The problem is the South Africans not be talking about themselves and not understand the roots, the reason why these people coming and why this reason. And the other thing is, what is quite interesting, is when the ANC, after all these years of apartheid, is after democracy came to South Africa, how the ANC they change those policies, how the ANC focus and reach themselves and become richer and go with these policies. No, this is the reason, this is the problem, the apartheid, the legacy. This is not only the apartheid legacy, themselves, they still implement the apartheid policy. And today in South Africa, we have what we can qualify as a black apartheid. I am one victim of black apartheid. So, it's tough to talk about these things, and then people start judging you, say, yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking, is a nonsense, it's a bollocks. It's not nonsense, it's not bollocks, it's reality. The reality, sometimes to sink in some people's head, it needs people with a smooth tongue, smooth words, but tough words sometimes are very difficult to understand. Me, I always talk directly and straight because I don't have times to cut corners and make people feel so comfortable and nice. Say, oh, this guy loves us, this guy. No. Let's talk about truth. Let's go to the point. That is the reason why the channel is called Resistência Urbana. What means Resistência Urbana? Urban resistance is what you are resisting in the city. Operation Totula is the same story. It's trying to resist, but they don't go to the bottom. The EFF, they're trying to resist, but they don't go to the bottom of the problem to understand the real reason. The reason are not the immigrants. The reason lay on the ends of the South Africans themselves to wake up in the morning and go and say, let me go out there, compete. The reason of the problems of South Africa today is competition. Go to Blue Hills, go to anywhere in Pretoria, in whatever, in Durban, be able to offer your service to the same rate as that foreigners offer. Foreigners, they will work for 75 rands, and you refuse, say, no, the minimum is 150. And then that foreigner does that same job and better you, and what you do, that is the problem. And then you have somebody as a principal in a school, and then as a foreigner, and you as a South African, as a principal, not do the same as that principal does. That was the case of that Zimbabwean principal. Or the other day was at the TV. He could organize the school to a point where the parents are so happy. But when was the South African principal, the things was different. No organization, things are left and right, always excuses. Is the competition the problem in South Africa? Is not the presence of others. Yes, the presence of Eritrea, Nigerians, and has brought corruption, because these people, they bring something else. But the presences of the Shanganas, they also, you call them Changanas, is to do with the price. Because these are the real labor, the hardcore of the economy of South Africa. I hope this video has helped you. Please comment, leave your point of view. I'll enjoy it. But invite yourself. Come, knock on the description of the video for my email, contact my email. Why not? We can talk each other and discuss this from your perspective and my perspective. Thank you. If you like.